Hi, it's Therese and I'm here for Penny Black and it's time to give me 5. Today I have 5 same but different cards and the theme is 1 stamp, 5 cards. The stamp I've chosen is this berry circle and it's beautiful and it's very much a sort of an autumn style stamp with all the gorgeous berries and things that are on it, but I want to make some Christmas cards today. And I'm starting out by stamping out my front panels or the front elements for each of my cards. And I'm using some recycled cardstock here, which is an off-white but has sort of a fleck through it. So I do have to be aware of that as I'm creating along. I just used some gold embossing powder there to emboss a square. So most of my stamps, most of my cards today are going to be top fold, but there is one square one. I'm using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink and I'm not going to be doing any Copic colouring. I'm going to be using my pencils. I just thought it was easier to use this ink today. Although I do miss the fact that I couldn't restamp everything in the MISTI afterwards, but I'll show you how I get around that. I'll tell you how I get around that soon. I'm using a couple of images also from the Gather Around set and I've just selectively stamped those where I wanted them on my wreath. Like I said, I'm going to be doing some Prismacolor pencil colouring today, and these berries can be coloured in so many different ways. I have used very similar colours throughout all of the cards, but I have changed the berries up. Some of the cards I've coloured them all one colour, some of the cards I've brought in a few colours. This wreath here is my most multicoloured wreath, and I thought I'd share the colouring of the wreath with you on this particular image because I'm not going to show you the colouring on all the wreaths. I know, you'll be disappointed, I'm sure. How many wreaths can you watch being coloured? They are pretty much all the same. I'm not doing any blending because I am on the coloured cardstock here, and I find that you do have to be a little bit more careful when you are colouring on coloured cardstock because everything does look slightly different. So I have tested it off to the side on a scrap piece of paper, and I found that when I'm stamping on this particular cardstock, I often do need to stamp it twice, so I was very careful when I was stamping out my images in particular. Alright, so when I was talking about my images before, I don't know if you've been watching, sometimes when I do stamp something, colour it with Prismacolor pencils, it does leave a bit of a bloom. You lose some of your sharp edges. Now because I can't use my MISTI to restamp it exactly where it was, and I don't trust myself to restamp directly over the top, I do use a Copic multi-liner just to come in and redraw the eyes, some of the edges and outlines of the images. Alright, so I'm going to leave you with the colouring now and I'll be back when all of this is done. So this bird image came from a set called Winter Joy, and I knew that I didn't need the whole wreath because I'm going to be die cutting this image out. And I did actually stamp this wreath and mask off the bird before I stamped it on there, and stamped it out with some Memento Rich Cocoa ink just to change it up a little bit. I did come in with my black pencil to add the details to the beak and the eye, and at the very end I do add use my white gel pen to put the white highlight back in the eye, and it's those small details that make such a difference. Okay, so I'm going to die cut this image out now. I'm using one of the new antique frame dies, and that's why I knew I only needed partial part of the wreath stamped out, and I think that turned out really beautiful. I'm going to fussy cut the inside of my multicolored wreath, and the easiest way to fussy cut a big image is to cut away as much of the paper as you can, and then you can just twist the paper back and forth as you fussy cut. And I did leave a small border around the edge of this wreath on the inside. My other sentiments, I have this Merry Christmas, which I've die cut in some gold. This is to go with my gold embossed wreath that I did colour as well. And I wanted to pop this up on some fun foam. So I did remember, I was so proud of myself, to use the double-sided adhesive to do that, because matte medium and gold mirrored cardstock aren't happy together. The mouse card, I wanted to use two tones for my sentiment, so I'm just masking off the portions that I don't want and using my Misty, and just use some Onyx Black and some Abandoned Coral Distress Oxide for that. The Merry Christmas for my Pussycat card came from a set called the North Pole Treasures, and this one is from an older set too called Nature's Friends, and the final one is one of the newest ones, and this is called Sweetest Moments, and this is just the most beautiful sentiment. I did have to stamp that out twice though. Okay, so I've popped up my bird image on some fun foam, added a second die cut, like this is a nesting die set, it's awesome, and I popped it on a second piece of the cardstock and simply just set that on the front of my card. The wreath I'm going to sit over top of and I've used some fun foam again, and I've sat that over top of the sentiment, and I should have probably cut this down before but I didn't, and then I can just use my ATG to add that to the front of my top fold card. They are very simple cards today. I did decide to add a twine bow, and then I put the rest of the cards together and also added some twine on those just to tie them all in together. So that's it for today's cards. Thanks for watching, and remember there are lots of ways that you can connect with Penny Black. So don't forget to like today's video and subscribe to the Penny Black YouTube channel. Visit Penny Black on Facebook and Instagram, and also check out their blog and website. I've linked to all of those in the YouTube description box below, along with a link to my personal blog listing all of the exact supplies used in making these cards. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Give Me a 5, same but different cards with Penny Black, and I look forward to seeing you here next time. Bye.